Well, Paulius, do you want to start?
I think you should start because like the beginning is quite misty.
Yeah, it is misty. Actually, I was going through photographs last night and then looking at dates. And the first time that we met was in 2015 during Venice Biennale. It was like, it literally feels like ages ago. I just finished my master's and I was traveling with Michaela, and we came to Lithuanian pavilion, and you were there. And we remember, like, we really liked the pavilion, and we had conversation there. And well, Michaela is a master of making connections, so we exchanged emails. And I think after that, when she started to thinking about the project of Closer Than Ever, she asked me, what about Paulius that we met at Venice Biennale? And I was like, yes, that would be great, because we had, like, you showed us, I remember that you had your notebook that you were doing drawings and making notes, and you were telling us about your routine, because that area, that the pavilion was also like, I remember this vaguely, that garden that you were saying that you're taking your lunch breaks and go there. Yeah, but it's ages ago. Anyway, it started from there. So maybe you could take it from there, like what you remember of that time.
Well, these were very nice times working in in Venice. I stayed there for 2 months, and I met many people. But you're the only ones who I kept in touch with, so that's amazing. I think. Yeah, and then I also have the questions here, like that Michaela wanted us to answer. So back then, I was using an iPhone to film and make pictures, and she contacted me, I think in the autumn after the Biennale. I think almost half a year passed, and at that moment I was living in my village, so I spoke to you through a hotspot, making a hotspot with my iPhone and like connecting it to my laptop, and then like this village technology. Yeah. Yeah, and then slowly it all began. I liked that there was so much time to discuss, and we could really just exchange things, exchange pictures, videos,
I remember
stories.
at the beginning things were very slow because I had an accident,
Yeah.
and it kind of became like the highlight of my day, because I went back to Iran and then I had a ski accident, torn 2 ligaments in my knee, and my plan was to come back to Cape Town, but I couldn't, and I ended up staying 6 months on crutches and like recovery. So I had like a really low down time, and this project kind of kept me going, like have things to do. And you've been actually amazing. Like, you always inspire me, the fact that you will constantly like sending emails, images, engaging. And I felt bad, like sometimes I wasn't replying to emails and I was like late, and I was like, no, this time you need to send things. You need to, like, this poor artist gonna be disappointed that he's not getting anything back. And that's how it started, because I couldn't move. My movement was so limited and I only had my phone. And we decided to share our everyday life, an idea of like our routine, like kind of a visual diary, and keep sending images together. And my first images was basically pictures of the carpet that was next to my bed and like tracing the lights and shadows. And then your response was like, wow, the shadows are so sharp there. It's so different to Lithuania, and the lighting. And then the idea of light came in. So maybe carry on with that. Because we are both painters. We train as painters. but then videography and photography was other tools. Well, for me, was the first time. You were experiencing with videography, but for me, it was the first time to start thinking of making a video and how that imagery could have this whistle of poetry that exists in painting. So for me, it was like this collaboration was quite rich because it pushed me out of my boundaries to try a new medium. Yeah, so thanks for that.
Well, thank you for all of that too, because I had quite the same feelings. Back then, I wasn't studying. I was just living in my village. Things were very, very slow. Sometimes every few years I was making an exhibition, but then not many things were happening. And you were like this connection to the big world. Like it was my first collaboration in life. And it kept me going very much. It was like this. Actually, you initiated what's happening now. Now I'm studying in this postgraduate residency, and many exchanges, collaborations, and discussions are happening all the time, and international people like just speaking all the time. Yeah, and before I never had that, and you were this project. It was the first experience similar to what's happening now.
It took so long. Like we started in 2015. The exhibition only took place in 2017. So
Yes.
oh, a year and a half. The amount of materials that we like, the emails and photographs, was quite impressive. And we did it with like this. Now we are in lockdown and everybody is like switching to this routine of having like Skype meetings, Zoom meetings, or whatever. We were doing it at that time. That was our
Yeah.
tool. And it's
Yeah.
incredible how technology could link people from, well, I was in Tehran and then I moved to Cape Town. You were in Lithuania, now you are in Belgium. And like all this time you moved around. I remember you went to Paris and you sent me this amazing images of and some Kifa. And it was mind-blowing. One of my favorite artists, still in my bucket list. I never saw his works in real life. And it was it in Pompidou?
Yep, it was in Pompidou.
Amazing. And then you went to Israel. You're a traveler.
I am, but probably you are too.
Yeah, that was also a nice thing of sharing our journeys and the movements. And that's when the idea of I'm talking a lot. You say what did when how we decided the final work what would be, because we exchanged lots of things.
Yeah, we were exchanging them, and then at some point we had to make something from them. And that was a breaking point.
We have all of this, but where's the work?
Yes. Where's the work? So I think it began from collages, yeah, making the photo collages. And one of the first was the one with the carpet, because the carpet that you sent me was amazing. And somehow those days I went to the tallest trees in Lithuania, like in this forest, and I combined the picture of these like trees looking from down to up to their like the tops of the trees, seeing the sky. So I combined it with the image of the carpet, and then things opened up, and then the real discussion began, like how should it continue, what should we do. And for me it was very, very inspiring to receive pictures from you, because it's not like random pictures that you find on the internet. It's the pictures that it were the pictures that you were speaking about, and you were telling stories. So they had a meaning for me, and then the project had a meaning for me, and then somehow I had the motivation to combine them, and then you combine them too, and then yeah, yeah, and then we started exchanging videos slowly. And for me, it was also the first time I worked so much with technology, because before I was really painter, and I was quite against technology, and like, but now I mostly make videos.
I know, how incredible is that? Like, I was also against, not against technology, but I guess as painters, we have that poetic um, relation with materiality and making things with hands. But that the possibility of using this medium opened up like new ways of communication, and the accessibility of this medium is incredible. I didn't even have cameras. I was using mostly my phone, and then I borrowed Michaela's camera, and poor Michaela helped me actually a lot with the project, using her camera, and she was helping me with shooting at some stage. I remember that I really wanted to capture the pink sky. That's a thing in Cape Town, the sunset.
Mhm.
And we were worried that it would sound kind of cheesy, like this pink sunset, but it's one of the most beautiful things. And we sat for hours and hours every day going, waiting for a sunset to get that pink. And we ended up not getting it. And as project ended, I remember one day we were walking and that pink came out. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Maybe you can actually talk a little bit about how, because the project is about light and capturing light in different
Yeah.
of course, it's also quite symbolic, but I think capturing light in a painting and translating it through the pigment as opposed to trying to capture light digitally through video, and what kind of the frustrations or maybe the surprises of those two in comparison.
Well, for me, I started painting light maybe 10 years ago. And then, yeah, it's very different from the like digital technology. But the thing that remains is like you train this painterly gaze, this painterly vision, like this painterly approach to things that you want to touch without touching, that you want to feel without being close to the object. And then this longing for the image, this desire to touch, but then also inability to touch things, then it makes you to create this simulation, this sensation of that when you see images, they touch you in like this spiritual ways.
You explained it so beautifully. And yeah, in painting, we slow down and we try to look at things and kind of linking our eye with hands and translate it directly, as you said, with the actual material, and it's lots of activity involved. But when the camera comes in between, there's that fear that it disrupts the connection. But in a way, it's not true, because then you have a frame, and you need to be patient. Like in our case of light, you're literally documenting the existence of that moment. And it's that notion of documentary and recording the actual moments, the way that you could use the medium to tamper and see things. It's endless possibilities, and that's very exciting. I think that's where I started to thinking how actually do want to make more videos, and through that I ended up collaborating with more artists and making even like a virtual reality video, and then later on making an animation. And in each project it was incredible to see how you could like the endless possibilities that exist, and in a way you need to control your excitement, because there's lots of ways to go. Which in painting, I think, because of its long history, and all the ways of making that existed, kind of everything is tried out. And as a contemporary artist, we want to push those boundaries more, and it's more tricky, because if you think it's lots of things has already done, and if you want to sound like relevant to the time, it's more difficult. Which with new technology, there's more options. The platforms is also another amazing thing. Like everybody in every corner of the planet, they could see your work. Having all these online exhibitions and expressing art on a screen is very different to going and seeing painting in life, which is true, because painting, sculpture, those art, it's about tactility, and it's about materiality, it's about being in the space. Which videography, it's about the right experiencing of the work on the screen. And this is probably a glorious time for people who are working with videography and photography and any kind of high-tech, yeah.
Yeah, that feeling of not being in control was like a cure, you know, from painting. It was amazing. You know, there's this contemporary fear of not being in control, but actually by discussing, we were like helping each other and like making a creation together. So there was this interplay, there was this like thing growing. So then we could feel connected, but then also not being in control. So it was this, wow, amazing feeling. And coming back to light and digital media, so what I enjoy the most personally is uh, recording the light, which is somehow touching me in many different ways. And then it's so strange to revive this light through a screen or through a projector, because then another type of light has to come out of this digital media to make a reference to the light that you saw before in your life. So this transformation is very interesting, like how it's coming back to life again.
I'm so curious about the recent project that you are doing, the videos that the I think it was screenshots of your recent performances or videos that you sent me.
So as I came to this village, like almost a month ago, so before I was always like shooting images, going from one place to another place, traveling, and then I came here. I realized that I'm quite trapped, so I have to create my own world, create my own settings, create a space that is inside me. Not to look for it like already made, which is outside, like these ready-made spaces, but to build my own situations. So I started speaking a lot with the artist who invited me to this village, and we started collaborating. And I built this setting of stickmen, who I was like, I had this idea for years and years to build a stickman somewhere in the nature. And in the end, I did it. And then we went there together for a few times, and I filmed her slowly moving around the stickman, repeating their movements, their actions, and she's moving in this Zen Buddhist way, like very, 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 very slow. And then the stickmen, some of them, they had like blossoms and leaves, so they were moving faster than her. And then you could see the different speeds of which are happening in the image. I was thinking a lot about rebirth, like now in the current situation. So some people, for some people, it's a very hard time because they're stuck home and they're suffering. There are many divorces. For some people, it's a time of speculation where you make money. For other people, it's a time of losing money. For artists, it's a time to make things or to find a new approach. And I think every person gets a different experience now. And in the performance, you could see it like from one side, it could be an apocalyptic world, but that notion doesn't interest me so much. And I like to think more about rebirth, how we could reinvent things and see them from a new perspective, and to come back to these daily lives with a totally new approach, and to stop thinking about these power relations and economic values, because like now power and economic values, they still function in a way, but the disease, it doesn't choose people according to how rich or how poor they are. So now everyone is equal. Yeah, so I was thinking about that. And um, so at the moment the video is short, but it's gonna be a 1 hour video. And
is this part of your MFA, or are you working toward an exhibition?
So last year I finished my both MFAs. So yeah, like,
oh my goodness.
yeah, I did two, one in Lithuania, one here in Belgium. So now it's like a postgraduate residency program, like a step in between like the MFA and PhD. It has many connections with what I was doing before, but then it's a totally new piece, like with new approach and new ideas, and even a character. I never used characters before.
We're talking about a course of 4 years, and a lot has changed. But it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Graduation growth.
Yeah, I also liked your paintings a lot. The ones you sent me, I think a year ago or a year and a half ago. And I didn't see any of the videographies that you spoke about, but I'm very curious and I'd like to see them.
Yeah, I've been bad. I need to upload from my website. So I think what I'm so agree with Paulius. As an artist, we used to this kind of practice. Well, we go to our studio every day. We learn whole day. Obviously, it has its pros and cons. It's uncertainty and being worried about things, how things would work out. But it's good to be positive and thinking as a rebirthing time, and how we could look at things in a different way. And as an artist, they always taught us to slow down, look at things differently, and then interpret them in your own language, whatever subject matter that you want to work with. And that's one of the things that I'm experiencing every day now. how the routine of life could carry you away, and you forget that small things that is happening around you and you could engage with, and how that could in-depth your practice. I'm doing lots of reading and writing at the moment. I'm trying to use this time to finish my thesis, which is great. I don't have any excuse to procrastinate, as a good procrastinator. And then just the possibilities of making and thinking, it's endless. It's also kind of refreshing to see that everybody's thinking of new way of being and doing things in the new way. So let's hope like this whole global crisis gonna be moved toward a positive move, and it won't be negative. Obviously, it's gonna have effects on poor, on people who are in poverty. They will suffer more because of the whole economy crash. That's the reality, which is very sad. It will be lots of loss. It will be a dark time, which is unfortunate. But hopefully this is gonna help for thinking differently and being more passionate and being more human, caring for human beings, caring for our planet Earth. This is like an alarm for future. If we want this will survive for our new generation, we need to think differently. Yeah.
Either art can serve as a online social gathering, as you mentioned, where people play from separate places, and then others are watching them, and maybe they feel connection. And then yeah, this your mind can float in this shared space. Or maybe also it's possible to make a work that connects you to the world without necessarily showing the people behind it and not showing the creators, and just making others feel understood and respected, and that you're seeing what's happening around you, you're feeling, and that you're creating a language to express what's going on, and then others can see this language and say, oh yeah, it's me. It's me inside there. Yeah,
I think it's a great time to produce and to see art and experience, and people have lots of time in their hands now. They could go and have a visual tour of like now all the museums and galleries, and all these platforms are open and free for everyone to experience, and technology is helping that, which is great. Maybe this is a sign that things needs to change. Things need to become democratic. They need to be open, and different ways of experiencing art, which is refreshing.
mm-hmm. But also as these online exhibitions and galleries open up, like more and more possibilities open up. And then me personally, I get this difficulty to going on the internet, because like more and more things appear. And I mean, inner structure doesn't just appear immediately inside you. What you should look for, which exhibitions that are interesting, like should I Google this, should I Google that? So yeah, there are so many things open source now, but can't really take them in. I'm not sure.
Yes, of course, it's too much, in fact.
Yeah.
I didn't check any online exhibitions. what about you?
I've been looking at, like, I would open, so I get lots of newsletters of like museums, and I'm very selective. I would just open up the artists that I already like and follow, or subject matters that would benefit my practice and what I'm working on. And in terms of news, I also, it's kind of bizarre that this, like, it's reflecting into my, like, the recent news is reflecting into my writing. So I'm using it in a way that, like, whatever that I'm absorbing gonna benefit my practice. I'm filtering because, as you said, it's too much.
Yeah.
One needs to watch out for. We really, it's a time to be kind to ourselves, to look after, like, both mentally in our body, and too much information could make you crazy. So yeah, filtering is important.
Yeah. The light is coming to Michaela's room and to my room. You see?
I can't.
Also your room. You see? Like the sun is coming. Even like there is this amazing distance between us. But light started to come in our rooms. Cool.
Cool. Well, that's a nice ending, I guess.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Well, it's a pleasure for me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for making us get together again, and it was very special.